Hey, this is Tom at Sales Made Easy. Obviously, this is Sales Made Easy, the podcast that helps you make selling a little bit easier. But when we say making selling easier, we're not talking about some fancy tricks to use on prospects. Because in reality, selling is not about fancy tricks or how to close or any of that. It's really communication. How do you communicate better? And the first thing you have to do is communicate with yourself. One thing we have a couple of rules at Sandler, and one of the rules is don't spill your candy in the lobby. And what that really means is it's the old days. I don't think anybody remembers it, but in the old days, like when I was in sales, you knocked on doors and you get to the lobby and you ask the lady behind the desk, "Can I see so and so?" And typically, a man or woman would walk out to the lobby and go, "Yes." And they expect you to give a pitch in the lobby. And then you go, "Okay, send me information." They turn around and they walk out. And that's it. And so the rule, don't spill your candy lobby, is you got to get back to their office. Because if you give them information too soon, what do they need to talk to you again? So if I sit there in a lobby and tell you everything about my company, if they need me, they'll call me. Why would they ever talk to me again? And I found nothing out about them. So when they come out to the lobby, you got to sit there and they go, "Yeah, what do you got?" You got to be able to sit there and say, "Who do you buy from now?" "Well, we buy from XYZ company." "I'm not sure I got anything different than what they got." And you got to be strong enough that when they say, "Well, then what are you doing here?" "Well, to be quite honest with you, you probably run a pretty tight ship and don't have any problems. I'm just stopping by to see if I can help anybody at any point in time. You probably don't need any help now. But when was the last time that you had a problem that you thought maybe you needed some outside help?" And you start a conversation. Because if all you're doing is telling people showing up and throwing up, then you're not starting a conversation. You're not building rapport. So our first rule is, how do I get rapport with people? Not just show up and throw up. And that's the hardest thing for a lot of us in sales, mainly because our companies taught us a lot of the great stuff about what we do. And we can't wait to tell other people how much we can help you. And yet you get in front of me and I don't know you and you're a salesperson, and you tell me how much you can help me. I'm thinking, why does this guy think I need help? So think about, don't spill your candy in the lobby. You got to get them to talk. A salesperson gets paid for the amount of information they get, not the amount they give. And so here's a topic I want to talk about. That's a rule, but what prevents us from doing that? And so let's take a look at this little thing that I think probably we don't think enough about. We always want to learn how to close a sale or something like that. But these are the three things that really you have control on. Forget about everything else. And by the way, triangles are a wonderful thing because it combines three different things and show how they connect. But we call it BAT. And inside is your dollars. And so the A stands for attitude, right? If you have a bad attitude, are you really going to make a sale, right? So you got to have control of your attitude. B stands for behaviors. Are you doing the right things? Because you have a great attitude, but you never leave the house, never go talk to people, then you're probably not going to make a sale. And then T stands for techniques, right? So if I have a great attitude, great behaviors, but I don't even know how to open up a conversation, it's a problem. So if I'm missing in any one of those three, I'm in trouble. And as a salesperson, those are the three things you have control on: your attitude, how you feel today. Are you doing the right things today? Behaviors. And are you doing the right things right? So I really want you to think about, if you really want to improve, is it my attitude? And this comes in a lot of different flavors, right? It's self-confidence, right? How do you feel about yourself? Do you feel like you're in a peer-to-peer conversation, or the person you're talking to has superiority over you, right? So I really want you to start thinking about how you feel about yourself. And this comes in different flavors. So I'll give you an idea, if you're a new salesperson, how this affects us. If I want to really improve how I feel about myself, I'm going to separate my I from my R, right? My R stands for my roles in life I play. I play a lot of different roles in life. My I stands for my self-identity, my self-worth. So how I want you to think about this on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being you believe you're pond scum. You're probably not watching this video if you believe that about yourself. And 10, you feel like you're perfection in every way. How do you feel about yourself? But here's what I want you to do. I want you to think about it from a standpoint of how do I feel about myself if I woke up on a deserted island, no skills, no education, no money, no friends, no relatives. How would you feel about yourself? No skills, no education, no money, no friends, no relatives, no job. Because you are a 10 without all those things. You are perfection. And maybe what happened to you happened to me, right? When I was born, or when you were born, mom and dad didn't say, look at this piece of garbage we got here. No skills, no education. No, they probably said, we have a perfect baby boy or girl. So if you were perfect then, how are you not perfect now? Well, what happens is mom and dad maybe gave us benchmarks. And they said, don't pull the dog's tail. Don't push your sister. Don't spill your milk. And every time you did one of those things, maybe you got a stern word or a tap on the back of the head. And you took that as mom and dad no longer see me as perfect. And then you went to school and you passed or you failed. Or you're part of the clique, not a part of the clique. And you're thinking, they don't see me as perfect. Right? We go to work for someone, they say, you didn't hit your numbers, I'm putting a letter in your file. They don't see me as perfect. But in reality, when a prospect says, no, I'm not buying from you, they're not saying no to that worm-carrying individual we know you to be. They said no to the role you played as a salesperson. You did a bad job as a salesperson, but you're still perfect. And as a salesperson, you got to stop taking that as a hit to your eyesight. Just take it as a roll side. When they say no, hey, I did a bad job as a salesperson. How do I improve? What can I do different? How could I be better at this? And we say this in our own self-talk, right? You might even sit there, I know as a young salesperson myself is, boy, I could never close like Bob. Bob is good. And what did I just say? I just said, I can't improve my role. I can't be like Bob. I should have been saying to myself, how do I learn to do what Bob does? And that's what you have to do. How do I learn to improve so that won't happen as many times as it did happen? Maybe it still happens, but can I stop it 9% of the time? So it's an IR issue. How do I feel better? And a great thing about that is what happens is we don't like to mess up the role. We don't like to fail. So what do we say? We say, I could never do that. And so we don't do it. We don't try to improve our role because what happens when we try to improve our role? We fail. It was interesting. As a young person, I was always interested in magic. And one thing that got me really interested was juggling. And I met a guy who was great at juggling. And I said to him, boy, I could never do that. And he said, yeah, you can. You're just scared of dropping the ball. And boy, that hit me so much right between the eyes. I was saying I can't do that when in reality he says, you're scared of failing. But learning to juggle is just failing. It's a series of failures. You keep dropping the ball until you stop dropping the ball. It's the same thing in sales, right? Keep asking when that person comes in the lobby, you keep saying to him or her, hey, before you leave, can I ask you a question? And you fail a couple times and they walk out. And that one person says, yeah, go ahead. You know, I had a client of mine, and one of the things they sell is to restaurant chefs. And one of the restaurant chefs always do is when a new salesperson comes walking in, they go, well, give me a price on this. And the salesperson runs away and gets a price and never hears from the chef again. It was the chef's way of getting rid of the person. And what we taught the salespeople to do is when a chef says, give me a price on this, the words out of your mouth now must be, well, we are going to be higher than what you're currently paying. Oh, that's dropping the ball. They were so scared to say that because that's dropping the ball and juggling. What they found out when they said it is, yeah, there were 2 or 3 chefs out of 10 that would walk away and say, oh, then get out of here. It's amazing. There were 6, 7 chefs that said, well, why are you more expensive? Why should I pay you more? And the minute they say that, they said, create some value for me. Maybe it's worth it. So are you scared of dropping that ball? And that prevents you from improving your role. So you've got to get better at role and look at every failure you have as a way to improve your role, not a way to beat yourself up. How do I improve my role? And then second part is behaviors. What behaviors do you instill? And by the way, to know the correct behaviors, the first thing you have to have are goals. For you to know what you should be doing today, the first thing you got to figure out is what are you trying to accomplish today? For you to know what you should be doing this week, the first thing you got to figure out is what are you trying to accomplish this week? For you to figure out what you should be doing this month, the first thing you got to figure out is what's my goal for the month? So if you don't have, and I'm not talking about the company's goal, I'm talking about your personal goal. What do you want? Operate from a mind of what do you want, not what you need. What you want gives you freedom. What you need is straps you. So what do you want? What's your desires? First, figure out what these are, right? So if you can put those two things together, figure out what, and we're going to talk later in another session about how to set goals. But if you can figure out what your goals are, tie those so that it's okay to fail as long as you hit your goal at some point throughout the month. See, I can fail 10 times. If my goal is to have 1 sale a month, then I could fail 9 out of 10 times with prospects. I just got to get 1. So I'm okay with failure. So I want you to start thinking about what are your goals? How do they tie to your I? You want an I-10. And then at that point, you can start working on trying new techniques because you're okay with failure. Whenever you try a new technique, you're going to mess it up. You're going to fail. You're going to drop the ball and learn how to juggle. So when I talk to you about techniques on these podcasts, try them, but only try them if you have goals and you're okay with your I, and that when you fail, it's not you that failed. It's just you didn't do it correctly. You just got to figure out a better way to do it. Maybe you got to soften your voice. Maybe you got to stutter. Maybe who knows? But those are 3 things that you have control on. And I really want you to start thinking about which one of those 3 things messed you up today. Was it your I-10? You just didn't feel confident? That's fine. Because once you figure out what it is, you can do it. Or maybe your I-10 was great. You feel good, self-confident. But you didn't do the right behaviors, or you didn't do enough behaviors to hit your goal. And if you don't know that, if you only make 1 call a week, you're probably going to have a problem. Maybe your behavior is you need 2 calls a day, 2 appointments a day. You got to figure out what your behaviors are. Once you got the behaviors, I need to make 2 calls a day. In my I-10, I feel confident. Then come back to my podcast and we'll teach you some techniques. So those are the 3 things I want you to think about that you have control on moving forward. All right. And we're going to work on that. I'm going to get you to subscribe so you listen to my podcast. And we'll see you next time on salesmadeeasy.com. Have a great week.